Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo Fonsint here with
Kevin Horde.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. Woke up in a panic this morning. So crazy start to the day. My nose is a little stuffed up, but other than that, you know.
Yeah, mine is too. It's weird. I'm concerned I might get sick soon, so I don't. It rained here yesterday and today, and thundered and lightning, which, as you know, for Southern California, is quite the rarity.
Yeah, we had some rain out here as well. So we got rained out at work a couple days. So this is actually we're recording this on a Saturday, so I had to work this morning. So kind of fucked up my weekend there, but you know, what can you do?
Yeah, weather. move to a place that doesn't have weather except for 4 times a year. So
yeah, my job would be completely different then. I don't know if that would work out.
Oh, there's still other aspects to it, surely, that you could handle that don't involve like snow plowing in the winters, which would be nice, yo.
Yeah, I hate snow. Snow sucks. Snow's terrible. It looks pretty, but it is not a fun thing to try to manage. So
as a former Midwesterner, I'm really good with it for like 2 days, like Christmas Eve and Christmas, and then I'm done. I'm good. I'm set.
Yeah.
Like,
See, that would mean that I would work Christmas Eve and Christmas, and
no, that's true.
Yeah, no thanks on that.
No, we don't need like big blizzards. Just the light powdering, you know. So
just enough snow a couple days before that everything's nice and white, like that's cool, but then warm enough that, or stabilized enough that once roads and parking lots are clear, they stay that way.
Right. Yeah.
We'd be
like
good.
The snow stays and we move on with life. Yeah. No, I've never stayed in California for Christmas, so I have yet to experience a warmer Christmas, which I need to someday tell my family, no, I'm not going back.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Right, yeah. Like I need them to move out here as well so that I don't ever have to see snow ever again.
Except for in the movies.
Right, yeah. That at Hogsmeade at Universal, I'll take that snow. That's as much as I need to frickin' see, so.
Do they do like fake snow? Or is it just like part of the set?
It's part of the thing. Hogsmeade is snowy year-round at Universal. We always end up talking theme parks. But so the first time I went to Hogsmeade, Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I went to the Florida one in 2011, about a year after it opened. And they do a really good job of selling this illusion, which Universal usually does not do. Universal is usually like here's Jurassic Park land and here's Dr. Seuss, but all the employers are just doing their own thing, right? Well, you go into Wizarding World, for those who haven't gone, everybody, all the employees put on British accents, right? So this is before Diagon Alley opened up, so they had like the Hogwarts Express front train just right at the front of the land entrance, and you could get in line and take a picture with it, and the conductor is there, and it's just like this dude in a fat suit with a vest and a coat and the hat on, and we're waiting in line, and it's my brother, sister, and I, because my mom and dad have no idea what the hell Harry Potter is. So we're in line. It's like 95 degrees in the Florida summer heat, and it's like 80% humidity. So we're all sweating bullets, right? It's swampy. It's awful. And there's a family in front of us taking a picture, and the conductor, you can see, is just sweating bullets. Like, he is moist, right? Just full sheen of moisture. And the guy in front of us, the father, turns to the guy and goes, wow, you must be really hot in that coat, right? And I'm not going to do the British accent because I'm really bad at fucking accents. But the conductor in turn goes, what are you talking about? There's snow everywhere. It's a beautiful winter day. And my sister and I are like, you don't get paid enough. I don't care what you get paid. It's not enough because you're selling the shit. but holy fuck, it's hot, man. Like,
yeah, there's no two ways around that.
No. So, anyways, what are we actually talking about today?
We are talking about season 2, episode 5, Landing at Point Rain.
Yes. I have the original air date as November 4th, 2009. Yeah.
Yep, that is correct.
What do we got? This is an episode directed by Brian Kalin O'Connell. Yep,
and written by our good buddy Brian Larson. We've seen quite a bit of him recently.
Yeah.
Our good buddy, because, we know him.
Yes, yeah. We're so deep in this show, we feel like we really know Brian Larson now.
I do know a guy named Brian, and that's about as close as I can actually claim to be.
Yeah, I don't know any Brians. My freshman college roommate was Brian, but beyond that, I don't know any Brians any longer. I'm not in contact with them. But I think that's just me. Also, as I get older, my circle of friends gets smaller just because I'm just too tired to go do things anymore.
That happens sometimes. So
right,
I can't fault you on that. I've got a
fortune cookie.
I've got a viewership of 2.07 million people on this one, and one thing I didn't realize is that this is part 2 of a 5-part story arc.
Yes, I saw this on the Wikipedia from last time, but I didn't want to kind of jump the gun on that one or set up any sort of preconceived ideas before we carried on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being that was part 1 for Senate Spy.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk about that afterwards.
Okay, it was a surprise to me.
Right.
So.
So yeah, we'll talk about this being a part 2 later on because I have feelings about that.
Sure.
Not negative, not positive. Just we'll get there. Let's just move on to the fortune cookie in this one. It's believe in yourself or no one else will.
Who you got?
I had a thought and then it's fallen from me because usually I will watch the episode and then we'll record this, but we actually took a night off.
Right.
I watched this last night. And I'm going to go with... Fuck, I don't know.
I've got 2. One, I can see the person saying this, and one, I can see the person believing it.
Mm-hmm.
So my first thought was Anakin, because this sounds like some type of advice that Anakin would give to Ahsoka.
Right.
And then I was thinking, like, it's really, really appropriate for Jar Jar because he's such, like, a bumbling doofus that this is something that he would need to kind of build into his character personality and, to kind of motivate himself throughout the day. But saying that out loud, I kind of think that because he is a bumbling doofus, maybe he doesn't realize that the way that he comes across to other people. So I'm sticking with Anakin on this one.
Yeah. I don't like. I can see him saying it, but I still also don't think it's. Yeah, it's the closest for sure, but it doesn't feel right. If that makes sense.
I agree with you.
Right.
Like, it feels like a stretch, and I mean, these things are sometimes we're forcing quotes upon someone or morals or life advice or whatever.
Yeah, when they're pretty generic life advice sometimes, and we're just trying to reach into the pool of Star Wars canon characters that may or may not be from around this time period. We've never really... Have we ever, attributed one forward to anybody? I feel like we have, but I can't remember now.
I know that we...
I could almost see, Rey saying this, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that one.
I don't know, because she's the loner on a desert planet, right? And then when she
is
bumps into BB-8, she's just like, this is just what I do, and I fight people off, and it's just how it is here in Jakku, But
yeah, I'm currently looking for my spreadsheet. I don't know what I did with it.
Yeah,
it's right here.
I got nothing for this one beyond. Yeah, this one's so, I don't know. Like, this is a Mr. Rogers one more than anything, right?
Yeah, so we have used, like, the furthest outside of the Clone Wars would be Darth Bane, Lando, and Jyn Erso.
Okay, so yeah, see, we did give one to Jyn, which I guess isn't that far off, but still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose it is like, what, 19 years off or so?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
No, 21.
21 because this episode
takes place right before
in 21 BBY. Wow.
Right. We can extrapolate information, you and I.
Right.
It's been a long week, I think, for both of us.
Based on things that I have written down, like this takes place in 21 BBY, so we didn't even have to do any math there.
Right. I'm like, well, like Luke is about 19 when that movie starts, and then therefore Rogue One takes place before that, and then we're like, oh wait, no.
Yeah.
Anyways, anything else before?
No, nothing else. No, nothing
Yeah.
else. Remind me to come back to this fortune cookie all the way at the end of
this
discussion? Maybe during like our thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay, can do. All right, let's move on to the newsreel, which is basically another. It's not a previously on per se. It's another kind of. Here's the context of the situation. Our narrator describes that the clone army is stretched in a desperate attempt to engage General Grievous, and separatists are kind of taking over various places that Republic thought were secure. We get another mention of Poggle.
PTL is what I'm going to call Poggle the Lesser for the extent of this episode. And
PTL.
You talked about separatists taking over, right? So what the narrator says is separatist planets that were once thought secure are now rising up against the Republic. I don't understand what that means.
Yeah, I was confused by that too, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if they're separatist planets,
right, you would think that they are controlled by the separatists, right?
Right.
But when
and
it
therefore
says
they're not secure.
One, they're not secure, and two, it says they're rising up against the Republic. Like, wouldn't they have already done that?
Which is inherent in the separatist planet part.
Right. So I don't really understand. I think what they're trying to say is like, planets that have an allegiance. Maybe there was fighting, and then like the fighting has ceased, but then like fighting is springing up again on those planets. Is that what's going on?
Why are they rising up against the Republic if they're already separatist controlled and that's what they want?
Right. If they were separatist controlled, then they would be rising up against the separatists, not the other way around.
Yeah. So like, I think it's just poor wording that somebody just kind of wrote and they didn't think about it, and then it made it through production. Because it really should say something like, planets once thought secure are now rising up against the Republic to join the separatists.
I agree.
Right? Okay. So I agree. As soon as I heard that, I definitely had to stop and think about what the actual context that we're trying to deal with here.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, no, I'm just more confused. All we had to, really there's nothing being said here that affects the upcoming episode, just to look forward. But also it's not information that we wouldn't have already known by what, like, in watching a season of the Clone Wars, we would have this understanding that the Clone Wars are a thing.
Right.
And the fact that planets are turning against each other or warring or there are factions happening. Like,
right.
Yeah, I don't think I needed the newsreel to describe that, but sure.
The other thing that, two other things I found interesting. One, they essentially refer to droids as weapons because they're talking about like a weapons factory, but it's really like a droid factory, right? Mm-hmm. And two, this newsreel ends by saying the Republic is going in to retake Geonosis, but it was kind of my understanding that they were never in control of Geonosis to begin with, so you can't. And that's one of those semantic things where it's like you can't retake something you never had.
I agree. Yeah. Because I just always saw Geonosis as its own, like, is it Outer Rim? I don't know, right?
Oh, that's a good question. I will.
But it's out there. And I find it interesting that, I just want to bring this up, they use the word invasion again to describe what the Republic is doing for Geonosis. So
they do.
The Republic wants to invade Geonosis again to tackle the droid factory that got
we learned
mention.
Yeah, that we learned about during Senate Spy.
So
in this case, I will completely agree with the use of the word invasion because they do not have control of the planet.
Right.
The Geonosians are aligned with the Separatist and they're fighting for the Separatist, right? Yes. So in this instance, for sure, they are going in for an invasion.
Completely, yeah. So that's where the newsreel leads us off. We get Republic fleet arriving above Geonosis, and we first see Obi-Wan and Ki-Adi-Mundi, right?
Yep.
And they reminisce about basically the events of Attack of the Clones towards the end of it. And then Anakin and Ahsoka join them. And then they do this weird, like, game thing where they're like, I got this many kills. Well, I got more over here, blah, blah, blah. And they're really joking about this whole prospect of, war.
Right.
And it definitely makes, like, Obi-Wan super uncomfortable, right?
It's like someone would take the time to count up how many kills happen in each of these battles and keep track of that. That would just be crazy.
You're right. I'm gonna agree with Obi-Wan on this, and I actually am gonna go farther and say it's absolutely psychotic. To be that boastful about your kill conquests, right?
I can't disagree with you.
The only place that I think that they played it in good jest was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
I totally got an LOTR vibe.
Yes.
And it wasn't it Two Towers?
I think they started it there, and then it definitely comes to a head in Return of the King.
Okay.
But because the armies are so massive in that one that they're shooting down nameless orcs, and because it's during the battle that it just is a little bit more playful because the battle has been going on for like a literal hour of screen time at that point, basically. That to cut some tension, that the fact that we have Gimli and Legolas counting out is a good tension reliever.
Right.
But to have Anakin and Ahsoka coming in during what is a meeting,
right,
and boasting about kills is completely off-putting to me, right?
I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah, it's not like coming into like a work meeting and be like, "Oh, I just locked down 3 new clients." Great. Good job. But no, I came in and I totally decapitated like 65 droids.
Right.
Okay. I don't know why you're keeping count. Like, there's a bigger picture, but why are you keeping count?
Yeah. I don't know. It's there. I'm gonna stumble over my words here because I have nothing to say about it. I've got no defense. There's no inkling of like this playful game, shall we call it, in the past. So it does kind of seem like it sprung up out of nowhere.
Right.
I'm going to say a couple things about Geonosis real quick, and yes. You had asked kind of where it's located. It is considered in the Outer Rim territories in the Arcanus sector in the Geonosis system. Its sun is Ea, maybe? It's spelled E-A. And it's got 15 moons. It's 43,000 light years from the galactic core, and its orbital period is 256 standard days.
All right.
So it's got a shorter year than Earth. Its climate is arid desert. It has light gravity. This is the first time that I've seen gravity described for a planet, which is interesting.
Because it doesn't, at least from what we've seen on Attack the Clones, the gravity seems fairly consistent with every other gravity we've ever seen.
Right, which leads me to believe that every other gravity we have seen is also light gravity.
Right.
So, yeah, there's that. And then I was thinking, like, okay, how do we, like, what does Geonosis mean? Like, where did this come from, right? And if we're speaking solely from an English-based language, you break it down, like, Geo is relating to the Earth, right? And then you're left with Gnosis, which just Nosis is Lithuanian for nose. So I don't think it's like Earth nose, like that doesn't sound right to me. But Gnosis with a G means knowledge, which would be the same base for like agnostic, right? Because it's without knowledge. And so, in my opinion, this is the planet of Earth knowledge, or knowledge of or pertaining to the Earth. So
nice, yeah.
I don't know what that means in the grand scheme of things, but you know,
nice. That's a deep dive for sure.
What can you do? So yeah, we've got Anakin and Ahsoka, and they just show up bragging numbers in their friendly competition. Obi-Wan says, like, his concern is that this war is drawing out. And again, this is one of those things where it doesn't quite fit into the reality of what's happening, because the Clone Wars is like 3 years long total, right?
Yeah.
And so we're about 1 year into that war. So I was looking at some other stuff in the Star Wars universe, and between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, it's 20-something years or whatever. Well, there was like a Cold War, quote unquote, during this time period, which is like the rise of the First Order, and this lasted for like 20 years. So there has been galactic conflicts that lasted for decades and centuries, and long periods of time, and it's been like 1 year, and Obi-Wan's like, oh man, this thing's fucking dragging on. Jeez.
To be fair, I mean, when World War I broke out, what was happening was like it wasn't all these countries going to war with each other. There were just simultaneous wars happening, right?
Right.
So, like Britain is involved because other countries are attacking, like, whatever. I don't fucking know. Shit gets complicated, right?
Yep.
But then as soon as it kind of all started happening at once, there was this big belief that the war would only last 6 months, right? Okay. Everybody thought it was going to be a quick go out and we'll get this done quickly, right? Like, what else are you going to do? Nobody saw it going for 4 years that it did. Like, there was even like jokes being made within the first year of World War I at the time that they're like, why are you guys like worried about rations? Like, this whole thing's gonna get wrapped up before Christmas. Don't worry about it. You know?
Gotcha. So you're arguing from the perspective of potentially like Obi-Wan's expectation for the quickness of defeat of the Separatists, and I'm thinking of it from a perspective of, in the scheme of things, 1 year into this conflict is a brief period of time comparatively with what we know other wars have taken as far as time goes.
Yeah,
okay.
Like basically once you get into like, especially the way this war is fought, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is a war with constant battles, like actual battles, and that's not I'm going to start saying things that I don't want to downplay the severity of these issues that we have, but maybe one to your point would be the U.S. involvement of Afghanistan, right? And the fact that we've been there for, what are we on, 15 years now?
Or more.
Right? So...
I mean, how quickly did we hit Afghanistan after 9/11?
I want to say it was like 2003.
Okay.
Something like that.
So 15 years
15
deep.
in, yeah. So, again, that's a very serious situation, and the soldiers that are there are definitely in a lot of danger. But...
Right.
These aren't like full-blown skirmishes per se with two armies clashing in battles in the typical sense that we non-soldier people over here might think of it sometimes, right?
Right. It's not the Revolutionary War where we line up soldiers on one side, soldiers on the other, and fire at each other and march toward each other.
Yes, exactly. And then like, oh, everybody got their shot. That's it for bullets. Now start attaching bayonets or your swords or your pitchforks. Like, good luck, people.
Right.
Right. So I think that's this part I can see where Obi-Wan's coming from here.
Okay. Your argument is valid and I accept it.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, like it what's funny is like it's a line that didn't even catch me at all until you just brought it up. So I was like, yeah, sure. Obi-Wan sounds tired. Like, Obi-Wan just sounds fucking tired.
He is not as tired right now as he will be later in this episode.
Oh, surely not. So, what do we got right after this?
This is where everybody agrees it's an invasion. They have to do this. The Battle of Geonosis has to be successful for, like, for the Republic to continue its fight. More and more recently, we've definitely seen, like, we have to accomplish this mission, otherwise, like, the whole war is going to fucking fail. Right. And so they definitely try to play up the stakes of the success of the mission that they're going on. Somebody tells Ahsoka to, like, call the Chancellor or something, and she's like, yep, they're already on the line. They're waiting. Like, they are waiting. So this does answer one of your questions that you've had about these holo Skype conference calls. Mm-hmm. And that, yes, literally, sometimes people are just standing there waiting. Just
hanging out
on the line. Yeah. And it's interesting that the three people that are waiting are the president of the universe, the Grandmaster of the Jedi, and Mace Windu. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
This also answers one other question for you. And as you have noted multiple times, the eye line of the holo is appropriate to wherever the viewer would need to see them. And in this, we see like I said, we see Mace, we see Palpatine, and we see Yoda, and Yoda is just floating, like 3 feet off the ground, so his eye line lines up with everybody else. So I'm imagining he probably has to be somewhere else, or he's standing on a table.
Yeah, because the Holo definitely kind of draws in a weird little platform for him, but it's not anything though. Like, it's definitely just like a weird little column that he's on. So I was curious about that too, whether or not the Holo was from Obi-Wan and Anakin's end, if it was compensating for something, or if Yoda was actually on something. Like, there are 3 different things kind of happening here. So, like, you got the room that we are seeing this conversation in, where Obi-Wan and Anakin are looking up at a thing, which is weird. So the hologram is being produced on another one of these big table things, right?
Okay.
So usually it's like one of the tables that they'll show like the battleground schematics and terrain layouts and stuff like that, right?
Right.
But then, so their feet are starting at that table level and goes up from there. So that's one thing to think about, because then Palpatine is still looking down at Anakin and down at Obi-Wan, which if on his end he's looking at it small on a table, that would make sense. Right? But then we add in this thing with Yoda where he's on a platform looking up at Palpatine still, but not up as high as he would be if he were, say, actually on Palpatine's ground level.
Right.
Right? So then, is Yoda still looking at this, like, from a table that, or, like, is he still standing in front of a holo that is still producing the images smaller? And then, is there a big Palpatine next to him and a shorter Obi-Wan in front of him?
It depends on if Yoda is with Palpatine and Windu or not.
Right.
So I'm
Which
thinking
we don't know.
We don't know. But presumably, while Ahsoka had them on the line, you know, they're playing air hockey or something to pass the time, and then it's like Ahsoka's like, "Okay, we're ready," and they're like, "Oh shit, get in place," and Yoda was just happened to be like standing on the air hockey table, and so that's.
And they just roll with it.
They just rolled with it.
Now, here's my other quick question, because I completely forgot that Ahsoka is the one that brought up the information that they were ready to go on the line.
Okay.
Again, they walk into the other room bragging about kills. Why didn't she just go in and be like, "Yo, I just want to let you know they're, like, Palpatine's waiting for us"?
Because maybe, like, while Obi-Wan is on his diatribe about the length of the war, then she's like, "Oh shit, I was supposed to call Uncle Palpy, so I'm gonna do that real quick."
But is she setting up the call, or is the call like, so, like, let's say, like, your daughter calls you, you have it on speakerphone, and she's like, "Oh, can I talk to Mom?" And for whatever reason, instead of handing the phone to your wife who's in the next room, you put the phone down, walk away, and then go talk to your wife about, I don't know, the Cardinals, and then
come back.
Yeah, and then after like 5 minutes, you're like, "Oh, by the way,
oh yeah,
our daughter wants to talk to you." Well, why didn't you start with that? It's weird.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I don't have an explanation.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Unless she had like Rex on it or something, or you know, there's like a third party that we don't see that's like setting this shit up, and then when I don't remember if it's Ahsoka or Anakin that tells her like, "Yo, get the call going," and like she just got like radioed in to her non-existent ears, like
"Oh yeah, we're all
it's ready to go." Like, yeah, no, we're good, we're ready. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Head on in.
Yeah. That's my only thought. But Obi-Wan, we are a whopping
We're like 2 minutes into this episode, aren't we?
Yeah, 2 minutes in.
Yep. we'll be moving on here. Let's see.
Obi-Wan says ships are ready. He talks about the plan. They're gonna do like this 3-prong attack,
right?
Which, basically they're going to the same place and just attacking it from different angles.
Yeah. So like one centered for us, one coming from the left, one coming from the right. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it's the way that their little holo map works. Like they're basically like 3 lined up, and they're converging at one point. It's not really it's not like coming from the north, from the south, and the east. It's more like
they're not flanking
like
them.
From
they're
the
just...
north, the like northeast and northeast.
Yes, yeah. Like there's still a planned landing zone that is still outside of this shield that's surrounding this droid factory.
Correct.
But they're just taking 3 separate approaches to the landing zone.
Sheev questions how smart it is to send 3 generals in on one mission. I agree with him, and this is something that I've brought up multiple times. Like they're always like buddy teaming up, and with a lack of Jedi, it seems like you would kind of put your aces in their places, and you don't always have to have like Anakin and another Jedi Master.
Right.
And Sheev's like, whoa, hey, time out here. Like, we're sending three generals in to the same spot. Like, isn't that the point of a general? You have like one general, and they're like directing the 3 battalions of troops. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how war making works. So,
as we have displayed throughout this episode already, between you and myself.
Absolutely, but Yoda's like, nope. This is
bro. This is how we do.
Necessary it is. Shut up, you must.
Yeah, he doesn't really give a reason. He just goes, it is necessary.
So the holo kind of dissolves out at this point as we've got some clones that walk in. We get some plan details, and it's hit the square, come from slightly different angles, and this needs to happen at 0700 hours exactly.
Yeah.
So
I didn't. We're still stuck in the first couple of minutes. I didn't understand why we went through this again when we just went through it. Like I didn't get. Was there any different information here that we didn't get with the other?
No.
Okay, I was just double checking.
Nope.
Because I thought I was going nuts. So, anyways, just to make a note, the clones that come in are Rex, Commander Cody, and Jet.
Yeah, Jet doesn't get named till like way later in the episode, right?
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't know who Jet was until I looked him up, but yeah, he gets called out at some point.
He does. It's very near. It's probably 3/4 of the way through, but he does finally get named. So there is that. But for most of my notes, it was like clone with Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on.
Ki-Adi-Mundi is basically like, if you guys crash, just wait where you are, and we'll find you. Ahsoka brings up this thing about, or she makes a comment about this wall that's like in the middle of a super valley or something. She's like, wow, that wall looks really crazy and dangerous. And Anakin's like, don't worry about it. We're not even going to be close to there. Which is worth noting. And you will find out why shortly.
Could it be a story plant?
It could be. Luminara Unduli is in hollow form here, and she's basically like, yo, everybody fucking focus. But she hasn't said anything up to this point, and it's basically like I'm just going to say something so you guys remember that I'm here and I'm included in the conversation.
Which, again, there's nothing she says that looking forward really impacts the rest of the episode, is there?
I don't even think she's in the rest of the episode at all.
She's not, which is why I remember this happening, and then when we got to the rest of the episode, I completely forgot that this happened, and now that I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, why the fuck was she even in the hologram to begin with?
And I don't remember her being in the hologram earlier, like when
she was
like when Yoda was standing on the pool table.
So because there's the one shot. You get from behind the hologram, so you kind of get this weird awkward shot of Yoda right in front of Palpatine from the camera's viewpoint as Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka approach the camera to some degree, and there's the holograms in like that semicircle. So Yoda, Palpatine, and Mace are awkwardly like stacked against each other.
Okay.
Which is weird. And then Unduli is off to the side on her own. So there's like a clear shot to her.
Okay. I totally missed that, but I will say that this should give us proof that the big three are together playing air hockey or pool or whatever, and Luminara is separate because their holo has already faded out. They've ended transmission.
They sign off together,
They went back to their
business.
Yeah, I was thinking more bachelor pad party or whatever they got going on because all the kids are gone and you know they can just sit back and partay. But
like a Wolf of Wall Street style bender or something like.
Maybe. maybe. Yeah. So we're prepping ships. We deploy some Y-wings. This, I wanted to say, like, this is well shot. It's well animated. The takeoff, the fly around, like, all this is really, really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Visually, it's exciting. I feel like it's a little more dynamic than what we've seen in the past, and it's a nice step forward. So everybody,
it's paced a lot snappier than usual too, I think. So yeah, I agree.
Unlike our recap of this episode,
right? Yeah, we are. This one's dragging on. Sorry, everybody.
Hey, we're gonna get there eventually.
This is why we upgraded space on our podcast publisher.
Right. We're a little long-winded at times, but haven't heard any complaints. So there you go.
We've been doing so well in the last couple episodes.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can.
We got an hour and 15. Let's go. Let's wrap it up.
All right.
Under 2 hours. We can do this.
We can do it.
Speed.
Everybody is kind of in their own lat. Obi-Wan gives. My note is that Obi-Wan recaps Attack of the Clones for Cody, and he basically makes a joke like, "Yeah, that was good, right? It was real good. Like, don't forget about Attack of the Clones. That was a good movie."
Right.
So,
but then Cody is like, "Yo, I wasn't there," and Obi-Wan's like, "Yeah, I mean, it's the same as everything else we've been in, so
right.
There was nothing special there."
Our lats depart. We do have some Arbesh here, where everybody's lat has like the what do you want to call it, the pinup, I guess, on the front, like their mascot or whatever. So Kiadi Mundi's ship says Separatist Nightmare. One of them says Bad Kitty, and it's got like a Nexu on it, and then I think that is it. I don't know that we see the other one. Oh, the other one is Grim Reaper. So those are like the three main lats. So really you can keep track of them should you want to from just visually from the outside. You don't have to because there's a lot of cut to cut in this episode. So my next series of notes are cut from Geonosis to Obi-Wan, to Yularen, to Geonosis, to Good Guy Star Destroyer, back to Anakin, back to Yularen. We've got a lot of aerial battle going on, which is nice. So that's, if we do have like an A plot, B plot, it's like the Jedi and their individual portions of this attack, and then general fighting on Geonosis. And we go back and forth between these two things, one of which is like split into three parts. We've got some nice point of view pan in and out close-ups, cockpit shots, like all this stuff is pretty well composed to give us that dynamic nature of the battle that's going on. individually, all three of the Jedi end up crashing.
Yes.
In different means. And it's just kind of like one after the other after the other. So we see, I think Anakin crashes first, right? And then Obi-Wan, or is it Obi-Wan and then Anakin?
Let's see. No, Anakin first, then Obi-Wan, then Ki-Adi.
Mm-hmm. Now, along the way, Ki-Adi's like, we need those walkers down. And that is after Anakin crashes. And, like, dude, when Anakin crashes, like, they just pop straight out of the lat. He just pushes the door open. And they just...
Right.
It doesn't slow them down at all. Like, one bit. And Ki-Adi's like, let's get the walkers down. Cody relays the message and tells the pilot to, like, begin the landing sequence, which... Some of the stuff just kind of feels like filler. And it's that stuff that I question. Like, how come, like, these things have never had to, like, prepare for landing. Like,
right.
Initiate the landing sequence. Like, they're aerial tanks. They come in, they're in and out quick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They get dropped off and they move on. But,
yeah. They drop off some ATTEs. We got a bunch of clones on the ground. There's a clone that straight gets hit by, like, a cannon. And then another clone is like, man down! Like, it's clear the dude just got blown the fuck up.
Yeah.
You probably don't have to call that one out.
Yeah, like, just keep moving forward. We'll come back later.
Rex tries to warn Obi-Wan away because Rex has been shot down, I believe. And Obi-Wan's like, there's nowhere else to go. So they just keep flying and then they crash.
Yes. Yeah.
When that happens, the pilot just like throws his hands up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Obi-Wan's like, hey, brace for impact. And they're all just holding on to, like, the triangle things on the ceiling. Like, that's... Yeah. These things
are like the little handles.
These things can't be regulation. They're not safe.
No. Especially with a crash like this. They're not strapped in.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand how Anakin just walks out. Because at least when Ki-Adi gets shot down, he kind of staggers out a little bit and he's like grasping onto the side. Like, he definitely has some sort of, like, potentially like internal injuries going on.
Yes, he is injured for sure. At this point, we've had like 3+ solid minutes of aerial battle and ships crashing and clones being fucking mowed down, and it's one of the more action-packed actual battles that we've seen.
Yes.
Rather than the way that we described earlier of, like, line of clones, line of droids walking towards each other and shooting.
Yeah.
And this is a long way from back on Christophsis, where it was like everybody was just walking down, like, Main Street, so it was like 6 people wide with buildings on either side. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you just had rows and rows of clones or droids firing at each other. We got shit going on everywhere here.
It's definitely, from a visual standpoint, it's definitely very dynamically done.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish, and I get that these things are being produced really quickly, so it's kind of hard to plan all this out, but they gave us like that whole like 3-prong attack schematic twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get to this scene, it's just random things exploding in air, lat from outside, shot inside of people getting jostled.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just wish we got a better sense of where these 3 teams were in relation to each other.
As far as like geographically, like...
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like you kind of get that sense, but more so it's just like things happening outside lat, Obi-Wan, things happening outside a different lat, but you don't really quite notice it's a different lat, then something happening to Anakin inside the lat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's just things happening, and I get that we know that they're on 3 different paths. I just wish I got a better sense of like what, like, reasoning behind the 3 directions makes no sense when they're all, when I can't tell if like how far away they are from each other or, you know, right.
And in reality, they're not that far away from each other. Because I think it's Mundy's team can like see where Obi-Wan crashed. They just haven't got there yet.
Yes.
And then later we can tell that Anakin and Mundy's teams are in close proximity to each other. They just took a different route to get to the same place.
Yeah. Because I even want to extend this between like what is being shot versus what's happening in the air. So like we see tanks, but I wish I got a better sense of like as the crashes were happening, like how far away each of these crashes were from the goalpost. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what bothered me, is that when the crashes happened, I just didn't have because and it sucks because like you have the big visual thing of that shield dome.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been a really easy geographical marker to always put in the background, so that when a crash happens,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this is where Ki-Adi-Mundi goes down, and Obi-Wan gets closer. Because visually here, like, the red fills up more of your space here. But instead, we just get, like, this told verbally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we didn't get near the landing zone. Like, no shit,
Right. Even if it's, like, 6 clicks or 2 clicks or whatever. So, Yularen pops up in this episode a couple of times.
Yes.
Basically just to be a douchebag. And
yeah.
Maybe it would have been helpful if he was watching the air hockey table of battle, like live action battle replay or whatever.
Yes.
So that you could see where, like you said, we can lock something down geographically.
Right.
And
that would work too.
He could be feeding information down to these 3 teams. Like, this is what the general should be doing, is watching these 3 groups of people and coordinating the battle, not Captain Yularen, which he's not even doing that. Like, he's just walking
around like commanding other stuff too. Like he's like multitasking, which is really interesting.
I don't even know what he's commanding. Like, he's in his Star Destroyer,
right,
and it is being attacked, but I don't know if he's in space. I don't know if he's in atmosphere.
Because Jet calls Yularen for reinforcements, right?
Yes.
And Yularen turns him down.
He says, can't help you out. I got problems of my own. I don't have any troops to spare.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he's multitasking because he's keeping eyes on... Is he, like, paying attention to battles on other planets as well? Or what is happening?
I'm not really sure. There's zero reference to where he is in relationship to the planet, much less the battle. So at this point, we've got Obi-Wan has crashed. They set up like their lats and their ATTEs in like a circle, so that they can kind of defend themselves a little bit. We have a return of Waxer and Boyle.
Yes.
2 clones from the arc on Ryloth.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think they're with Ki-Adi-Mundi, right? And he's like, there's Obi-Wan, go fucking get him. Like, go help him out, right?
No. They are with Commander
Rex.
Cody.
Oh, you're right.
They are with Cody, and what happens is Cody is teamed with Obi-Wan, but then they're in different lats that get shot down separately.
Right.
And they're still in communication with each other, but then Cody is like, yo, Waxer, Boyle, go get Obi-Wan. Like, he sounds in really bad shape, so...
Yeah, they've got a little bit of banter on the way there, and for the life of me, I cannot tell who's who. They look the same. I mean, their voices sound different, but I don't know which one's Waxer and which one's Boyle. But one of them says, why do we always get the fun missions? And the other one's like, oh, this isn't the fun part. Getting back to the square is the fun part. So the square is the landing zone. And it was like, that. This is what they're calling it. But when we had the the 2 times explanation of the landing zone, it was represented by like a green square. So this is their end goal, is get to the square.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was almost filler in the script that nobody went back to like change, you know, like, oh, where are they going? Like, oh, well, they got to get to the square, you know, the square. Like, we know they're going because like they drew a square, like that's where they're going.
Yeah, which I don't understand because LZ is a absolutely completely used term in real life that they easily could have just used here, right?
Right.
Like, get to the LZ
zone.
Yeah, like we got to get to the LZ. Grab Obi-Wan. We're going back to the LZ. Instead, they call it the square because it did throw me off as soon as whichever one says it. I'm like, what square are you talking about? And then it hit me that they're talking about the LZ, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, so then they get to Obi-Wan, and they open up his lat, and Obi-Wan's like, me and Trapper here are the only ones that are still alive. And then one of either Waxer or Boyle is like, yeah, Cody's establishing the square, like, right over there. But all the bugs are trying to surround us. That's what they call the Geonosins, is just bugs.
Yeah.
Which, I'm down with it. That's what they are. That's fine.
Makes sense. Yeah.
What do we got going on? Cody and Obi are talking about said bugs. The Geonosins knew like every move that they were going to make. And at this point, this is after Waxer and Boyle like get Obi back to Cody. So they're discussing the same thing that they have this discussion all the fucking time. Like, the enemy knew exactly what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And is this just Palpatine consistently like, oh, this is what is going on? Like, I have seen the plan. It has 3 points like a trident. They're coming from 3 angles. Or is this just that the Separatist army has their shit together and they're not as haphazardly thrown together as the Jedi Republic army? Because we have people like Ahsoka leading troops and she's 14, 15 years old or whatever.
I think it's both. Like, I think the Separatists on their own are a formidable force, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have this drawn-out war, per se.
Right.
But, yeah, Palpatine is definitely aiding in drawing out this war.
Did you catch this clone, like, running up and sticking Obi-Wan in the neck with a syringe?
Yeah. Like, yeah.
I was like, what?
Seemed to help him.
I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, this clone just like runs up and he's like, stabs him in the neck. And Obi-Wan doesn't even slow down. Like,
yeah, there's like no warning or anything. Yeah, he just gets it. It's like,
he doesn't have like a red cross on him, you know, something to signify medic or something. Right. No, he just runs up and sticks him in the neck. The Obi-Wan does, however, have confidence in Ki-Adi-Mundi and Anakin that they're going to do what they need to do. So he's like, basically, we need to do what we need to do. We cut over to Mundi, who somehow is like, wherever he crashed, he's kind of outside the ground battle, which is good for him. Wherever they're headed toward like a cliff or something. But there's I describe them as like kind of like I-beam things. I don't really know what. I'm sure they have a term. It's like the things that you see in, you know, every movie about D-Day in Normandy, like the shit they have on the beach to like keep the boats from actually.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what those are called.
But yeah, I don't know what they're called either, and it bothers me now that I've never thought about what they were actually called. But yeah, those big, like, spiky balls of I-beams, right?
Yeah. So Ki-Adi is like cutting through one of these, and I was like, why is he taking the time to cut through this fucking I-beam? But I think what he's doing is like he's clearing a path for the ATTE walker.
Yeah. So he's cutting the height down
so that it can walk over it.
Yeah, because I agree with you. We get the shot first of him cutting through the I-beam. then it pans back to show us a tank walking towards the path that he's clearing. So
yep, it's like a lot of action. Obi-Wan gets stabbed in the neck. Cut to Kiadi cutting apart a fucking beam.
Yeah.
Then pan back. Okay, now I get it. Now I know what he's doing. This is where Commander Jet talks to Yularen, and they're discussing tactics and whatnot. Jet requests some air support. Yularen denies him. Then we're over to Anakin and Ahsoka. They are approaching the barrier.
Yes.
One of them calls it a barrier. One of them calls it a wall. Ahsoka straight throws Anakin's words back in his face because Anakin's like, "You're the one that was supposed to study the map," and she's like, "You're the one that told me not to fucking worry about the wall because no, we wouldn't be anywhere near it."
Right.
Yeah. I think it's Yularen. Somebody corrects whoever they're talking to and says it's not a wall, it's not a barrier, it's a fortress, which is weird because it looks like a wall. It acts like a wall. It acts like a barrier, but I guess that there is something inside that makes it a fortress. It's not like a big castle. It's not a building. It's like a dam for no water.
Right. Yeah. It visually to me looks like a tall dam, like a Hoover style dam, right? Mm-hmm. It has like that curvature
for sure,
and it's like set up against a canyon, and my thing is, why can't it be all of these things? Right? Like, it's like,
why do we need to take the time to differentiate?
Right. Like, from the outside of my house, I'm still going to point and be like, well, that wall of the house is, like, it doesn't matter if I'm on the outside or not. Like, well, go paint that side of the house. You mean the wall? I mean, sure. Yeah, the house. Well, I mean, it's the wall of the house. I don't fucking care. Just go fucking paint it. Like,
actually, it's the garage.
Right. Just not the door, okay?
Yeah, so they just kind of actually each other over the semantics of what this thing is. Which it doesn't really matter.
I don't. Yeah, I did not care for this part. I just visually at least they do set up that there's a bunch of fucking shit on this thing. Like, there's a bunch of droids on it. There's a bunch of like laser cannons or something.
And I will say it did remind me of like the Clone Cadets episode where they have to fight the final challenge was like the fortress, and it has like the gun sticking out of the wall. So like I'll give them that tie-in. Like, that worked well for me. It was called the Citadel, right? Not the fortress.
Yes.
So if they would have called this thing, if they would have been like, no, it's a citadel, then I would have been like, all right, like weird tie-in to something to an episode that actually happens in the future.
Right.
Or comes out in the future but actually happened in the past, right? Hey, like, I'll go with it. Or if they would have called it the fortress in that episode instead of the citadel, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Or if like, for Clone Cadets knowing what's happening here, if they had that weird semantic argument in that episode, and that's what leads them to fail.
Right.
Right? Because they fail once before they...
You gotta climb the wall. It's not a wall, man. It's a barrier. It's not a barrier. It's a fortress. Like, whatever. It's a fucking citadel. Like, let's go.
And they each get shot in the face during training, right? Like,
right. I'd be good with that, too.
Right. So many missed opportunities with these plot plants. So
we cut back to Ki-Adi-Mundi again.
Yes.
And I feel like they might be lost because they are cutting through the mines of Moria. This is a terrible idea. It's at this point that we do get like a little bit of pan zoom, like documentarian found footage style of cinema here. I don't know. It's just
I honestly don't remember this part. I remember them going through the cave. I don't remember the...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But
I don't remember the handy cam footage.
It does... It's not like full-blown handy cam, but it's a little bit more handy cam than
the show has ever given us.
Yeah, it happens on occasion, but it's closer to... like during Attack of the Clones when we were introduced to Geonosis to begin with, during the battle where all of a sudden it is handy cam documentary filmmaker running along with these troops through the sand fields of Geonosis or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We get a moment of levity, and two Geonosins like just fly up and grab the stormtrooper and like use their feet to pick him up, and they fly off.
Yep.
I got a kick out of that.
He's gone.
He's gone. He never to be seen again. Kiadi is definitely just, push on, proceed, ahead full is what he should have said.
Yeah.
We cut back to Anakin and Ahsoka. Anakin's like, yo, clones, give us cover. Me and Ahsoka are going to bring down this wall. And they both pull out grappling hooks and fire them in this weird, like, reverse underhand, like a cop holding a flashlight. I don't know. It works for them. They ascend up a nearby cliff to be above the wall, and then they discuss their Legolas kill stats again. Rex and the clones take out some cannons. Rex is like, aim for the droids on the top. Anakin and Ahsoka hop down, and they're fighting on top of the wall while there's ground fighting going on around. We get another man down joke. I guess you could call it a joke. I don't really know. Geonosins are straight up beating the clones in this war. Mm-hmm. Half of our little circle of defense that Obi-Wan had set up is destroyed. Back to Anakin and Ahsoka. They clear off the top of the wall. Anakin's like, we need to find a hatch so we can throw these bombs inside. And there's just a giant gaping hole in the roof. And Ahsoka's like, found one! And then we just have some droidicas, like, fired out the top, like some video game. For some reason.
Yeah.
They just, like, boop, pop out the top.
Mm-hmm. It's ready to go, man.
I guess. So, there's, I guess, supposed to be a little bit of tension here, and they dispose of those droids pretty quickly. Somehow Rex gets up here.
Right, yeah.
This is my questioning face that you can't see, but I have an eyebrow raised. So
he's up there. Yeah, I don't know when he got up there, but he's up there.
He does that cool thing where he like walks up behind the droid and just sticks his blaster like through the shield and blows its head off, and then Anakin like runs up to another one and then just like slides underneath it and cuts its head off or whatever. I enjoy those moments. Those are cool. They throw all the bombs down one hatch, and then Anakin just throws Rex off the top of the fortress.
Yeah.
To Rex's surprise. Anakin and Ahsoka jump and somehow fall faster than Rex does. Use the Force to stop themselves from smashing into the ground, and then catch Rex at the last possible moment. Rex says, next time just tell me to jump, and Annie's like, nah, where's the fun in that? So I guess we needed a little bit of a couple jokes in here to cut this tension a little bit and pull us back down to earth, if you will. The earth of knowledge, Geonosis.
Literally. Yeah.
So the wall / fortress / whatever it is gets blowed up. At this point, the clones are like, yeah, let's go! And everybody just takes off running, like, balls to the wall. They know, apparently, where they're going. So they get through this little super valley to the other side of the wall dam barricade house thing, fortress, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. They're past that, and then you can see excuse me, you can see kind of off in the distance some fighting going on a cliff, and it's Ki-Adi-Mundi coming out the opposite side of the cave. And it's at this point that Ki-Adi's like, we're almost through, bring out the flamethrowers, and they just waste the rest of the Geonosins. Why didn't they do this like to start with?
Yeah, why didn't they go in with the flamethrowers blazing? I had that question as well.
After the first clone gets just like hauled off by a couple of geobugs, like Mundy should have been like, "Yo, flamethrower guys, like, come on, we figured out why you 3 guys were along in this mission, because normally flamethrowers against droids not too helpful, but we got it. We got you this round. So
we have an actual biological creature to
come in and do your job, since you were trained." For one thing, you are flamethrower troopers. Mm-hmm. My comment was just brutal. Like, this is brutal, and it is awesome.
Yeah, because we definitely see the Geonosians burning.
Yep. So Mundy and Skywalker have rejoined, and Ki-Adi-Mundy's like, I guess he's trying to be funny. I don't know. He's like, yeah, we had to take a detour, and Anakin's like, this is a day for detours. And Mundy says, indeed, but ahead the road is clear. So we know what style of quote we will see from him in our blue text at the beginning of the episodes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's not quite Yoda speak, and it's not quite...
It's not the normal syntax that we're used to, but it's not as jumbled up as Yoda's.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going for. So here, Anakin calls Yularen for help, and Yularen's like, yeah, no problem, on the way. So basically he was just like a dick to Jet, and then Anakin calls and he's like, yep, you got it. Send in the troops.
Yeah, like, I have a squadron that can go see you guys. This is fine. Like, okay, man, like, come on now.
We've got more general ground fighting here. Lats are going down. We got some clones retreating. We get to see how the doors of these lats work and how the little window things work from the inside.
Yes.
And from this point forward, I will not bitch about them anymore because this makes sense and it looks awesome and it's a well-designed little thing. And it's like a minivan door with the little minivan doors for the windows.
Completely. Yeah.
So it is of my opinion that now I have been shown how these things can fly in outer space with no atmosphere and not kill everyone on board. Yeah. And so we have taken a step forward in the logic of the Lat, and I am pleased.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is completely surrounded. He ignites his lightsaber as though it's the last time that he's going to. He is visually distressed. He is physically beaten down, and you can tell that he's like, well, this is it. Go out in a blaze of glory. Yeah,
he looks tired. He's ready to go, basically.
My next note is he looks ready for death.
Right.
So at this point, the Y-Wings arrive. They have relief. The reinforcements are here. Clones are cheering, reinvigorated. They charge. We have the reunion of Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, Ki-Adi-Mundy. They banter with each other. And again, we get our holo map. And they recap the plan again.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if they have to make some adjustments, seeing as everyone got shot down and half the people got themselves dead.
That's essentially what's happening. There are minor adjustments, basically, but the end goal is still basically take out the shield generators and try and capture PTL.
Yep, so Anakin is tasked with taking a small squad through the shield to jam the scanners, and then Ki-Adi-Mundy is going to fly in with the troops.
Yep.
This is what they are supposed to do. So Anakin, and at first it looks like it's just Anakin, but then we do get a little pan back, and like Ahsoka kind of comes from like a slightly different angle, because that is the thing in this episode, slightly different angles. But they literally just run through the shield. They're like, okay, you ready? Yep, let's go. And everybody just fucking sprints and runs through the shield, guns blazing, and they just run over to where they need to be. Mm-hmm. So this particular portion of the attack plan does not seem as difficult as some of the other things, like landing on the ground.
Right. Because also, visually, the way they show this off is that we get one long oneer, I guess. Mm-hmm. So we get like a lateral shot of Anakin running. So it almost looks like he's running from screen right to screen left.
Uh-huh.
And it looks like an old school like platformer video game.
Yes, except for he would be going backwards in the level.
Right, yeah.
Because everybody knows you can only go from left to right.
Yep, that's it. That's the way forward, left to right.
Yep.
So, visually speaking, yeah, it was... This is why, like, going back to that geography issue at the beginning, it threw me off that I don't know why they would place the factory screen left, right? But I don't... It's weird. It's just a weird... To have them moving forward and placing that screen left for... in an English language show that reads left to right
mm-hmm.
is mildly off-putting to me.
Right.
So it was a cool shot otherwise, though. I thought it was a cool shot.
Uh-huh.
It tracked really well, and it was cool seeing them when they did just run straight through the shield. The way the oneer worked, I was like, oh shit, they're in.
Yep. Like there was no fucking around with it. It was run through the shield.
Yeah.
Just run. Just go.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah.
So the way that they jam the scanners is they just kind of run up to the base of the whatever thing that they're approaching, because it's not the factory itself.
No.
It's the wherever the shield generator thing is. And they throw in droid poppers, which are those things that look like thermal detonators, but they send out like a little mini EMP.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so they do that. And does that short circuit the shield? Is that what happens?
No. So it short circuits the defense line that's above them.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that down, that gives the tanks enough time to roll in through the shield.
Yeah, this is, I guess, something that they skipped in their recap, because it was like, Anakin, you run in, Kiadi, you fly in, and they don't talk about the tanks.
Right. Because it's the tanks that roll in through the shield, and then they shoot together. The tanks and some of the air support shoot... They shoot there's like a geographical feature at the top of the factory.
Okay.
So they shoot that, and then that falls onto, they look like satellites.
Yeah.
But I guess those are the shield generators.
Yeah, it's like the shield projector. I mean, they had the same thing on Endor for like the shield around the Century Moon.
That is true. Yeah. But what's weird was there's a couple of them all lined up here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like a similar design idea. But yeah, that gets blowed up, so then the shield goes down, and then our lats can come in, and at this point, all the Geonosins just surrender, I guess. Any of them that are left. We definitely see some that are like, yep, might give up, might give up.
Yeah.
We're pretty close to the end of this thing here. Anakin and Ahsoka have their little banter about the Lord of the Rings death game. Ahsoka's number is 60. Anakin's number is 55. And he's like, yeah, well, I called in the airstrike, so it's a tie. And then Obi-Wan is basically like, your game is dumb. This is war. Fucking grow up.
Yeah. And again, he's just like walking right, and he's literally just basically saying, "I'm too old for this shit."
Mm-hmm.
He's just, "I'm too old for this shit. I'm tired. My ribs are broken."
Yeah, I got beat the fuck up.
Yeah, you guys are dumb.
Yoda was right. I did not need to be here.
Right.
Should have just stuck with our two Jedi together. Even though Ahsoka's here also, and she's been called a general in the past, but in this specific circumstance, she's not a general because there's only 3 generals.
She's just back to apprenticing general, I guess.
I guess. But Mundy is like, "Yo, Anakin, what was your number?" Because mine was 65.
Right.
And so maybe this gives a little bit of legitimacy to like this whole thing. Because it's like the old wise Jedi master, you know, like at the beginning it's like, oh, these 2 dumb kids are like joking about how many kills they have, and then at the end Kiadi's like, "I'm in on your game, like I'll support it, it's all right." I still won.
I just saw it as, I thought it was cute, I thought it was funny, and it was well done. It was a good extra level on a joke that I did not care for.
Right.
But the way I read into it was that it was almost Mundy was almost like he was down for it, but it still came from like a weird spot of like innocence. Like Mundy is smarter than this, but I almost saw him in the same way as I saw the way Niku acted in the first episode of Star Wars Resistance.
Okay.
Where it's kind of like the innocent ignorance of it. Yeah, right. But like Mundy knows something's up, or he just wants to join in the fun. But then, because like the reason I see this is because the episode ends with Mundy going, "So I won. So what did I win?" And Anakin is like, I guess you win my respect, good sir.
My everlasting respect.
Yeah.
To which Obi-Wan kind of chuckles, and he's like, "Yeah, well, that's not something that he doles out very often, so I guess you should be proud of that."
Yeah. So Mundy takes it, which I think is cute.
Yeah, his response is hilarious. He's like, "Oh."
Right, yeah. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. That's like, this is where like that weird Niku trait, I can see these two lining up a little bit here.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying it's a 1-to-1. It's just like the feeling comes off similar.
Yeah, I called this entire exchange at the end bromance flirting between the 3 of them.
Yeah.
So it's at that point that our lats take off and we cue loud music. So
cue loud music indeed. Yeah.
Ki-Adi-Mundi was voiced by Brian George. I don't know that guy, and I did not look into him, so I can't tell you. I can't give you a breakdown of his IMDb page. Luminara is voiced by Olivia D'Abo.
Very nice.
So there you go. If anybody's keeping track. Because I'm keeping track of a lot of things, but not that.
No. But yeah. So anything else to note about? Did you want to talk about the fortune cookie again here, or?
Oh yeah, I did. I'm glad you reminded me of that. It's not pertinent to my thumbs up, thumbs down, so we can talk about that right now. I'm looking back, and just to recap, it was on the page before the page that I'm on. Believe in yourself or no one else will. I don't see how this ties into this episode at all. There's like, at what point do we have a character that is like doubtful of themselves or something, so they need to be?
I never saw the fortune cookies as having to directly tie into the episodes. It's not. It'll happen, but I don't think it's a prerequisite.
I don't think it is either, but I think that often, it's like it'll say something about friendship, like true friends are the ones that don't care if you fart next to them or whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
And then like there'll be an overarching like thing of friendship in the episode. But it's not it's not like the fortune cookie like sums up the episode, right?
Right.
But every once in a while it's just like fortune cookie and then something else, and like
the themes will match up.
I think a lot of times the themes do match up. I think that
again, yeah. I mean, like I said, it happens, but I have never felt the need for the fortune cookie to be any sort of, I don't know, pregame, prologue, thematic prologue.
So they are on Wikipedia. They're called morals. So it's like the moral of the story, and this is definitely not the moral of this story.
No, because I've always just taken that as like a generic moral, right? Like it's a moral that exists, right? Like because there's no quote being attributed to as somebody having said this, right?
Right.
So it's just like a moral that exists in the universe, and I've never seen it as being like, again, because you're pulling from Wikipedia for this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sourcing it to something when there is no source for this material, right? But from a viewer standpoint, blue text comes up, opening title, right?
Okay.
So again, there's no...
Yeah, I'm going to start paying a little more attention to this to see if how often we agree that the fortune cookie does or does not kind of mesh with the episode.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can reevaluate it later down the line and say, yes, overall it does, or yes, overall it does not.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't bother me if it doesn't. Like, it's not something I've ever cared about. It's always just like... It's just like
a thing that's there.
Yeah, it's just like it's like the fact under the Snapple cap, right?
Okay.
Right, like it's just an extra bonus thing that shows up at the beginning of these episodes.
Okay.
Right? Like that's how I've seen them. I've never tried to read that much more into it than that.
Okay.
You know,
I mean, obviously I have, which is why we attribute these fortune cookies to a specific character. So.
And to me, I've always just spit them out the same way I throw away fortune cookie fortunes. So.
I thought you were supposed to eat the fortune so that it becomes one with you, and then...
Are you the Red Dragon? What? Are you the serial killer from Red Dragon? Like, what are...
Does he eat fortune?
No,
cookies?
he steals a painting and then eats it
that's right.
embody the dragon.
That is right. Side note, so in the second iteration of that movie, his character is played by Ralph Fiennes.
Yes.
And there's a scene where he is in the buff and he runs like, I don't know, from that second floor, like outside or something, right? Uh-huh. So he's running around naked. And apparently there was a certain part of his anatomy that was included more so in the shots than was expected. So they had to like digitally remove said portion of his anatomy in post-production so that he didn't look like an elephant running around or something of that nature.
So that means somebody sat at a computer for some time and had to go frame by frame digitally erasing. Yep.
Because I guess the day of the shoot, like, you know, he comes out and drops his robe, and at that point everybody was like, holy shit. So there's that.
Not gonna lie, not surprised. You know,
not gonna lie, I probably didn't need to know that information that I just shared with you.
That's fine. Just I do feel like Voldemort would have an enormous
wand.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say a basilisk. Like
basilisk.
Yeah.
Nagini.
You're right. Yeah.
How many other comparisons can we make here? I don't know.
Like, is he his own Patronus at that point? Like,
it's very, very curious. Do you think Nagini's Patronus was a snake?
I don't, because like, look, what determines the Patronus? It's just the personality, right? Like an animal that matches your personality.
I don't know, because I took the Pottermore thing and I got like a Sphinx cat, and I was like, I don't even fucking like cats.
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't taken that one. I've just taken. I've been sorted, and then I never moved on past that. I just need to know what I was sorted as.
Yep, Ravenclaw here, and
yeah, so am I. Yeah.
I know what my wand is. I just can't remember it off the top of my head, and I know that I got a Sphinx cat as my Patronus, which I'm fighting that one. I don't believe it.
Yeah. So just we'll figure out the rules because Nagini is a snake only because she's accursed.
Yeah.
With it, but I don't think it's her personality. I mean, again, we're still in early days. As of this recording, we are a month away from Fantastic Beasts 2, which if you have not seen the trailer, I don't know if I would count that as a spoiler, really.
It's all over everywhere.
Right.
I don't think you just spoiled anything.
Right. So if you're a Harry Potter fan at all, Wizarding World fan, then you would have seen the newest trailer of Fantastic Beasts that reveals that Nagini was at some point in time a woman.
Mm-hmm. Which the Super Carlin brothers had speculated on their YouTube channel a long time ago that was the case, and they were correct. So kudos to them.
Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, like JK claims to have had this in her mind for years and years and years. I don't...
Yeah, like 20 years.
She seems to do this, though, which... Look, I love JK and I love Wizarding World for sure, but it does bother me that book 7 comes out, universe is done, and she's still doing like a book tour and going around, and then somebody asks her a question about like why Dumbledore never got married, and she's just like, well, I always thought of him as gay, and everybody like loses their fucking mind.
She does have a George Lucasian approach to revealing other information that isn't specifically stated in the books.
Right.
Like Stu John.
Right, yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't, when she says that she's had this Nagini thing in her mind for 20 fucking years, like, no. Unless you pull up the fucking napkin that you scribbled this shit on, right, and show it to me, and we get like some forensics on it that are like, yeah, this is definitely a napkin that you could only get from McDonald's in 1998.
We're going to do some fucking carbon dating.
Or like, yeah, like, oh, this napkin definitely has some Szechuan sauce on it. And unless she waited 5 hours in line for that Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce, like, like this could only happen in 1998, folks. And yes, that will be my 1998 reference for this episode is the fact that Mulan McDonald's crossover Szechuan sauce. So
what's that have to do with Rick and Morty?
Oh, do you watch Rick and Morty at all? Oh, for the sweet love of God. So the beginning of season 3, they do this thing. The whole episode progresses through, and then it gets to the end, and I forget what the exact quote is or how he even fucking gets there, but Rick goes on this rant about how he's all pissed off that he can't get the Szechuan sauce anymore at McDonald's. And he's like, yeah, McDonald's had this Szechuan sauce. It was fucking amazing, but you can't get it anymore because it was a tie-in with Mulan, and they deemed it not necessary to keep around, but I miss it, Morty. Like, the Szechuan sauce is the best, and I don't know why they don't keep it around anymore. It can't be that hard to make. Just bring back the Szechuan sauce. And naturally, the internet all goes, yeah, why isn't the fucking Szechuan sauce around? Because personally, I loved that shit when I was a kid, you know? I was like 11.
I have no mememory.
Oh my God. Sauce. I was fucking in love with it. Because, like, number one, as an American of Asian descent, you know, growing up in Michigan, surrounded by white people.
Right.
And having to deal with that bullshit of growing up in that environment and having, like, it, to get into a rather serious thing before I lighten it back up again. But as a child, like, as an 8-year-old, you know, like, in elementary school, right? Like, because everybody always has, like, these ideas that's like, oh, this only happens, like, when you're a teenager or, like, adults do it. And, like, this is shitty things adults do. And, you know, like Charlottesville, right? Whatever. No, like, I definitely have vivid memories. I don't remember who the fuck these kids are anymore, but I have, like, still burned in my head, like, sitting on a school bus of, like, a kid just being like, do you eat hamburgers? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, you know, as from an 8-year-old perspective, I'm like, yeah, like, why would
I not eat hamburgers?
Yeah, and it's like, well, like, because you're not American. Like, what do you eat? I'm like, I really love Chicken McNugget Happy Meals. If anything, I was a Chicken McNugget kid, not a hamburger kid. I never actually really liked hamburgers growing up, which I found interesting looking back. But no, that's
why they were calling you out for not being American.
Right, because I gravitated towards the Chicken McNuggets. But anyways, so 1998 arrives and Mulan comes out, and, you know, looking back, I appreciated everything about it. Like, there's nothing about it looking back for that era. Like, so McDonald's, even if you got Chicken McNuggets with the Happy Meal, they would put the 4 nuggets inside a little Szechuan box, which I thought was the fucking coolest thing. So, like, somebody remind me. I can't remember if the nuggets came in or if it was like the Happy Meal box was replaced with a Szechuan box. But I was all about just kind of seeing, like, I'm of Vietnamese descent, so, and of course, like, Szechuan boxes are not a thing in Asia at all, right? But it was just still cool seeing parts of my cultural heritage being embraced like this, and Szechuan sauce, again, not being an actual real thing, just still getting some version of it in 1998 at a time when this was not a thing that existed at all, right? Like representation was just what fucking ever, right? So, anyways, because of that, Szechuan sauce did have a strong impact on me. For number one, being absolutely delicious in and of itself, but also because of everything else I had just mentioned here.
Right.
But it was super fucking delicious. It's hard to remember. Like, it was like a weird mix between, like, the sweet and sour sauce with, like, some, like, spices to it, right? And it kind of, in my memory, it leaned more towards, like, the traditional, like, when you go to an Asian restaurant, like, their sweet and sour sauce instead of whatever, like, that weird darker colored McDonald's version is, right?
Yeah, is it like, I'm looking at it right now. So it is almost like the color of barbecue sauce, right?
Basically, yes.
Weird. And it was the McNugget box, not the Happy Meal
So not
box.
the whole thing. Yeah, so yeah, the McNuggets came in the Szechuan box. But I remember
correct
making my dad take me a lot more just for the Mulan stuff. And you know, for a multitude of reasons, Mulan is my favorite Disney princess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's partly because of what she meant to me growing up, but I do find her to be one of the more self-empowering princesses that exist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do feel bad when people ask like, what's your favorite princess? And I say Mulan, and I'm like, it's not because she's Asian, it's because she's the only princess that literally kills the bad guy. Like,
yeah,
right, like because Beauty and the Beast, it's Beast, like Gaston kind of just falls off because the Beast, he stabs the Beast and the Beast like knocks him off. Ursula gets fucking impaled by a ship that Eric like fucking drives into her. Princess and the Frog is interesting just because it's like nobody really vanquishes him. It's just his own deeds catching up to him. So like the demons of the underworld or whatever come and drag him back to hell, I suppose. Like in Cinderella, she gets fucking stuck in the attic and does jack shit after that point. Sleeping Beauty, same fucking thing. She gets caught under a spell, and you know, but because of that, Prince Philip is interesting to me because he's like the first prince that actually gets to do something and has a fully formed personality instead of just being a dude that shows up.
Named Prince.
Right. But then with Mulan, she actually actively fights what's his name?
Eddie
Shan
Murphy.
Yu. Right, yeah. So Shan Yu, right. So she actually is the one that takes the sword, sticks it into Shan Yu's thing. I mean, if you want to nitpick, it is Mushu's firecracker bottle rocket, giant, massive mortar shell of a firework.
Right.
That, you know, does them in, but I mean, it's Mulan is still the one actively fucking fighting, you know.
Right.
So, anyways, that's a long. So then, getting back to Rick and Morty, last year or the year before, McDonald's announced that they would do a Rick and Morty special where for one day only they would have Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, I just saw it was February 18th of 2018 or February.
Oh, so it was earlier this year.
Something. Yeah, it was this year.
So they did this, and the horrible thing is McDonald's did like a small little press release for it.
Mm-hmm.
Rick and Morty fans would go, "Oh shit, awesome!" So they wait outside McDonald's, you know, and they like I believe they even gave a list of locations that would have it, and it was like literally like a dozen across the United States, right?
Huh.
So people swarm to these 12 locations. Like some people drove like hours and hours out of town to show up to these McDonald's. There's a line of like a couple hundred people outside these McDonald's. The employees show up, and the employees. So McDonald's did literally everything wrong. They tell the public that Szechuan sauce will be available. They do not tell the employees that this is a special that's happening, right?
Awesome.
So the employees are like, "You guys are here for sauce? Well, we have sweet and sour barbecue, honey mustard, and then ketchup." They're like, "No, we want the fucking Szechuan sauce that you guys said you would have."
Fucking Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" So some locations had that complete clusterfuck happen. Some locations knew about it, but got a package sent to the store of 2 little containers of Szechuan sauce. That's it. You know, some never got it at all. So then literally like riots were happening outside these McDonald's stores. Police would have to be called into some of them because these were people who had been waiting for hours, and McDonald's just never actually delivered on what they said they were going to do.
It looks like you can buy a package of Szechuan sauce on eBay for $2.
Right. I'm good. I don't need to go that far. But McDonald's has since, I believe McDonald's did like a round 2 of it, and then they said that they would try and bring it back, or they were weighing the options of reintroducing the sauce as a normal sauce again. And as somebody who has not had McDonald's in well over a year or maybe even more,
yeah,
McDonald's, I will totally buy a fucking 10-piece McNugget if you have Szechuan readily available without me needing to wait in line for 6 goddamn hours. Like, just...
Like I said, man, eBay, $2. And the additional cost, which I would assume covers shipping, only $18.13.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
You may get 4 because the picture has 4.
Yeah.
But,
I never trust the pictures on eBay.
Yeah, there is no unit description, so you may only get 1.
Yeah. So anyways, how the fuck did we get on Szechuan sauce?
I'm not real sure, but I think that we should probably move to thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, so that's your Rick and Morty history lesson. That's also a deeper look into my childhood of,
why Lorenzo hates cheeseburgers.
Yeah, why I don't like cheeseburgers and why if I speak negatively about Michigan ever, it's because of shit like that. So
fair enough.
Yeah. Like, every time I see a news article, like, Michigan in my head is how the rest of the country feels about Florida man. Right? So.
You'll have to explain that one to me later.
Oh, my God. No, real quick. It's because Florida has so much stupid shit that happens in it that Florida man has become its own, like, superhero entity because it's always like, Florida man gets trapped in own bathtub. Florida man. Trips out on LSD and starts yelling at children. Florida man, blah, blah, blah.
We have there's a radio station here in town, and the morning radio show, the hosts do some sort of segment that is like, instead of like a real or fake news thing, I think it's like Florida headline, or I don't remember what it is. This is a great retelling of something that happens in St. Louis on a daily basis. But yeah, I'll shut my mouth and move on because I don't know what I'm talking about.
So yep. Anyways,
I'll just say I've heard the word Florida on the radio before.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is my contribution to this conversation.
Anyways, yeah, let's move on. Let's close this out. Thumbs up, thumbs down, yeah?
Yep. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
All right. You want me to start? You want to start?
I'll go first. I give this a thumbs up. I enjoyed this episode. Like I kind of said throughout, there's I felt like a more dynamic approach to the storytelling. And for me, it worked well. It's a step in the right direction of taking the show to the next notch, and I enjoyed it. Visually, you can sit down. It doesn't feel like a 22-minute episode. It runs by pretty quickly, and there's some goofy shit that happens, but it's a kid show. Whatever. It was fun. I got the point. They're going into do this thing, and some shit happens along the way, and that's that. So this aerial battle that's kind of in the first third of this thing, that is probably half of the first third, is it's worth sitting down and just watching that part. So there you go. Thumbs up.
I'm gonna absolutely agree with completely everything you said.
Wow.
Yeah, like, cool. Honestly, I thought this was a really fun episode, and I agree. Like, it's from a visual standpoint, it's actually interesting. Things flow, the story flows. The story is exciting, right? And
we have a clone war,
right?
We got clones fighting, and maybe I'm thinking of this so favorably because it's been. I was going to say it's been several episodes, but I guess in the Zilla Beast there was some clone fighting. But it just feels like it's been a while since we saw, like, just a good old-fashioned war going on.
Yeah, like a battle that seems to, like, affect something war-related, right? So, yeah, it's nice finally seeing some sort of actual battle regarding this war that the show seems to be titled after, right?
Yep. Do you want to hear your updated thumbs up, thumbs down statistics?
Sure, yeah.
So we have a total of 36 episodes. You are 15 up, 21 down for an overall favorable rating of 41.67%.
All right.
So it's inching up. You're moving.
Yeah. It's inching up.
I'm at 26 up, 10 down for 72.22.
Yeah.
And then, as we said a couple weeks ago when Ryan was on, he tipped the scales, and our guesses are 50-50. So,
yeah.
What can you do? So that's all I've got for this week. So I don't really have anything else to say. Like I said, overall, This thing was enjoyable. Maybe one last question is, who is PTL, the capital B bad guy on this?
No, I just throw it to Geonosis, I would say.
Just Geonosis in general?
Yeah. Like, I feel like this is, like, just getting back into the Clone Wars, like that, or Separatists, however you want to define that, right?
We'll probably just say Geonosis. Because
yeah, like, we're back to the battle mode, like for this one I wouldn't consider there to be like a capital B bad guy. It's just more of the situation that they're in. Right.
Yeah. PTL is definitely mentioned at the beginning of the episode, but it's not like they haven't caught him, right? Like
no,
they blew up the shield. So preview.
That's what I wanted to bring up, because you mentioned that this was part 2 of 5. And I found this interesting because the only real attachment we have to the previous episode, Senate Spy, is that it's information that Padmé found while she was spying.
Yeah, there was one other thing that I saw and I forgot to make note of, but maybe I'll give this one a rewatch before next week also, because there was something else that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, the plans for the droid factory. And then there was something else, and I was like, and I feel like it was real close to the beginning, like maybe even in the newsreel or something. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes it. Maybe it was just Poggle the Lesser, because he was in last week's episode.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Like, those are two connections. The fact that they bring up Poggle and the schematics for the droid factory, which, yeah, that's exactly what I want to talk about, and I completely forgot about. But regarding this as like a part 1, part 2 of 5, I find that interesting. I don't, because I have not watched forward past this episode yet.
I have not either.
I don't know what 3, 4, and 5 are going to look like. But in terms of considering this like a part 1 and part 2, like they connect in the way that I would hope any normal TV show would, right? So I find it interesting that they're locking this into its own series of arcs, right? Because as we've discussed before, like, Senate Spy was its definitely own episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then to me, this is also an episode that has a beginning, middle, and end, right? There's the bigger arc there, as TV shows will do, but
yeah, I would say the only thing that I guess remains unresolved is like the entire point of this mission was to get in and get Poggle,
capture Poggle, yeah. So yeah, like there's open threads.
Didn't happen.
Right. Yeah, like, so there are open threads that are there, but in terms of just how TV shows work, it's not like I watch an episode of Daredevil and consider like episodes 2, 3, and 4 their own arc per se out of 13 episode seasons.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, but it's also a different type of viewing.
I don't disagree. So like maybe like a better comparison is like
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you want to stick to the MCU.
Something like that. Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where there are mini arcs within there, but like on the whole the entire season it's like, yeah, of course these, like, this thing led to this thing that led to this thing, because that's how TV shows are generally supposed to work,
Yeah.
Or it's like, or even like going more weird with it, like say like you're watching Friends, right?
Friends definitely popped into my head, and I was trying to think of how the two would compare to each other.
But it's like this like on again, off again thing with like Ross Rachel. It's not like that's a 10-year like arc, right?
Uh-huh.
Like this is a 10-year part storyline. Like no, it's just what happens as you tell a story through a television medium that just keeps getting
right.
more
There are strings from other stories that you weave into your current narrative because that makes sense.
Right, because you can't ignore what happened to Ross and Rachel in this episode from season 2 to just make up shit over here. The fact that they paired Rachel and Joey for a season, that is a separate issue, but yeah, like everything builds off of each other. So again, the fact that they're cutting this off into its own 5-part storyline, I am curious about. But to me, this is all, as we said before, like I'm glad to finally see a little bit more of the battles that happen in this Clone War, because it's just it's part of the bigger picture, right?
Yeah, I am interested to watch next week's episode, which is Weapons Factory, by the way, season 2, episode 6, because it wasn't until watching, like preparing for today's show, that I realized that Landing at Point Rain was part 2 of 5. So, knowing that, and knowing that next week is part 3 of 5, I'm interested to see what happens next. Like, and how directly does that tie in with this week and or last week and or the following week, So, I think it'll be a fun 3 more weeks of this, and then in 3 weeks we can discuss all of those concerns and thoughts that you just brought up about this thing being a 5-parter, or whether or not it's just 5 episodes of a show, and somebody decided that it's a 5-parter. I mean, it's not unlike the theatrical release, where that is supposed to be like a 4-part storyline, because it was like 4 separate things, and we definitely have talked about that at length, and whether or not that was really a cohesive thing, or if it was different storylines kind of thrown together and put into a theatrical release. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out in 3 weeks' time. So
yeah.
You got anything else until next week?
Nope. That's it. Yeah.
So shouts out to Lindsay of Strange Fantasy Music. Hit her up on Gmail. Shouts out to Kevin Warren at They Call Me K-Dub on Twitter, and some other social media that I can't remember. Instagram, maybe? That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
He is our illustrator / graphic artist. So thanks to both of you guys. Lorenzo, thanks to you. Check out our YouTube page if that is a better viewing / listening platform for you. Tell a friend. Give us a like. Give us a review on iTunes. All that jazz. Let us know what you're thinking. So I think that's all that I've got. So if you don't have anything else, then
nope. Alrighty.
Well, next week is Weapons Factory, not Droid Factory. So we'll see what's up with that. And until then, these aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.